Yes.
Why did you sue the fire department?
Hmm?
Why did you sue the fire department?
Yeah, they read on you.
Oh, they say,
Yeah, they read
did I
on
say
you.
something? Yeah. Did everybody get a question?
Yeah.
Say it louder.
Why did you sue the fire department?
I sued the fire department because there's nothing that we as black people enjoy in society that we did not get without BST, blood, sweat, and tears. We live in a system, a society I should say, that too many people promote a political theory of white supremacy. And so, and there's no area in any profession that this doesn't permeate. In other words, that this is not involved. That's what's important about having a school like this that can teach you to feel good about your natural black selves. Marcus Garvey promoted that sort of thing. So I happen to have to answer your question specifically, why did I sue the fire department? And we've been through more than one trial. Because I had experienced people who falsified documentation. In other words, to have me adversely impacted on the job, to try to fire me unjustly. So I'm not what you call a locker room type of guy. Guys just go back in the locker room and talk about what I would have done. All you guys know those people. And if you don't, you're gonna know them. What do I mean by that? The ones who come to you after you spoke out in a meeting, they go to you in the back and say, yeah, man, I believe what you were saying. Or sis, I was with you on that. Your question has got to be, well, why didn't you speak up? You got to stop making them people be comfortable to be cowards and stay in that zone, because that's what that is. That's cowardice. Our people have achieved nothing with cowardice. What they've achieved, when you talk about Mary McLeod Bethune, when you talk about Harriet Tubman, when you talk about Denmark Vesey, when you talk about Martin Luther King, when you talk about the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey, these people took it to the system. They dared greatness. They dared to say, look at something that is not as though it was. There was one time there was nothing on this block right here. Onion Palmer, who I knew well, looked at this block and saw this as though it is. You got to be audacious. If you want to be a leader of any consequence in life, any kind, you can be a leader. Be half baked out here, milk toast, which is weak, in other words. But if you want to be a leader of any consequence, you've got to have audacity. You've got to be audacious enough to look at something that is not as though it is. Don't accept what people just tell you when you know what they're telling you is incorrect. That's why I sued them. Because people will lie on you, people will falsify documents, and the only way to get justice is sometimes to take that, put your money behind it, put it in front of a jury. Now the system itself is geared toward breaking you down. In other words, every step of the way there is something put there to derail you. Judges are put in positions where they can just wipe away any potential gain of the community. Just like we're seeing now when you look at the Supreme Court, which has been stacked. The Supreme Court is there that stacked in the way it's stacked, so that if anything positive and productive and liberating gets in their way, they can just wipe it away and throw it in the trash can. And give some reason that they say is legitimate for it happening. So, did that answer your question, young man? Yeah. I over the course, like I said, I've been on the job 37 years. When I first came on the job, I was denied the job. Let's put it like this. I was disqualified before I even came on the job. Let me tell you one reason why. When I was 17 years old in high school, there was a new law saying that you had to go to the post office and fill out this card for selective service. To put your name in there saying that you are going to go to the United States military and potentially kill other people of color around the world. That's what that is. At 17 years of age, I said, I'm not doing that. How you gonna tell me? How's the global white supremacist system going to tell me what I gotta give my life for? Yeah, I'm a soldier. Yeah, I'm a warrior. Yeah, I go head up on these streets with fools. But I'm not, so I ain't afraid to put my life on the line. But I'm not gonna let you, the global white supremacists, tell me what's now gotta be important for me to give my life for. So I didn't do it. So 4 or 5 years later, they keep that paperwork. So when I came up for an interview for the fire department, they said, oh, we see here you didn't sign up for the selective service. That's against the law. You're disqualified. I fought past that now. I've been on 37 years. Not only that, but during the 37 years, they probably been trying to fire me about 4 times, but I'm still here. Because I don't back up, I don't buck dance, I don't kiss tail, I don't do none of that. You bring it, you're gonna get it. Not scaring you, am I? There's a switch that goes on, and you all need that switch in different ways, because there's a time to play, but let's be clear, young men, young women. There's a balance in society. Some people say you need to play and smile more than be serious. I don't say that. Be a little more serious, but always have time for recreation, to recreate yourself. But you find too many brothers out here. Let me just take that for you because I'm a brother. So when I see brothers with their pants all off their butt, like sagging, like that's a political statement, that's foolishness. We got to be careful not to internalize our dysfunction. That's dysfunctional. Don't internalize it like it's a fashionable statement. It's not. It's just like on the flip side with the young, beautiful sisters that I see y'all here. If you're gonna parade yourself like Megan Thee Stallion or Cardi B, that's dysfunctional behavior. You know. So.
Can I say something? I want to interject something real quick, and I appreciate you sharing the fact that when you had brother actually why'd you sue, and you actually stood up for yourself, and that's something that I want, especially young people, to understand that there's gonna be times in your life when you're gonna be treated wrongly, and I'm glad this brother sued, because the first thing a person thinks about is someone's treating me wrong. I want to do something physical to that person, or I want to knock this person out or do this or that. But that's thinking where you say playing checkers. But when you're playing chess, you're thinking 5 or 6 moves ahead. And I'm pretty sure by this brother seeing all the things that they were doing to him, you could have easily just went off. And a lot of times, especially as a black man, and even as a black woman, you would be looked at as being an angry black person. But if you're able to, I think as this brother, I know you documented the things that were going on with you, and then you were able to take them to court, and that's something we need. That's a historical lesson that we need to see. That there's a way to fight that.
Yeah, and what brother said. Thank you very much, brother. What the brother said is very important. It's no different than what I said here with the young man. He wanted to be in the NFL. Always have a plan B. Have a plan B. There's not one way to handle anything. Have you guys heard of Dr. Frances Cress Welsing?
No.
Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, peace be upon her, is one of our scholars, clinical psychologist who's passed on. But she taught that global white supremacy seeks to control us on 9 different areas that she identified. She identified economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, religion, politics, sex, and war, and I put identity in there as well. So we make it 10. So I'm just saying, you want to maintain a plethora of ways to deal with any situation, and your mind is the most powerful tool you got going. Right on what Mr. Moja had said. Don't get me wrong, in the fire department, it's a physical environment, and you're gonna be there with a bunch of different people coming from a bunch of different places. I maintain all resources for liberation, like I told you all. All of your talent, your skills, your ingenuity, use it for liberation. So if a fool walks up on you and want to get physical, we're gonna get down. I'm not gonna get intellectual with him. It's time to take him to the mat. Now, once he knows that, I have a brother who has passed on, but he was a couple of years younger than me, and I had explained to him when we were in our 20s that when a brother or sister lets the oppressor understand that they are willing to defend themselves mentally, physically, spiritually, and psychologically, a whole bunch of things don't come your way. I love Martin Luther King. very important that the movement took the pacifist, nonviolent approach it did, but that's just not me. I'm just not, I'm not built like that, psychologically, that I will be able to take physical abuse from people and just make it all right. You all have dealt with bullies, right? No. You ain't got no bullies in this room, right here? No. There's always a bully in the room. I ain't gonna point them. You ain't gotta point them out. People are looking around. I got you. But what I'm saying is, with a bully, there's a lot of different ways to deal with a bully. Some people say, pray for them. Okay, that might work. What I found always works is if you pick up a stick and bust a bully in the head. I'm not advocating, but if a bully understands there's physical consequences to their act, that's generally the day they change their behavior. That day, not down the road. When they look around and say, okay, this might not turn out like I want it to. Okay, so that's all. That's all I had to say on that issue. Was there any question related to? Thank you for the question about the lawsuit thing, because we have to take them to task.
Have you ever saved someone out of a fire?
It's we pulled some people out of fire that otherwise would have gotten burned up. Yeah. And then excuse my pause because we go back a lot of years to recount. So I heard that you all saw the film that Mr. Moja presented to you on sabotage. Was there any questions on sabotage?
Yes. How did you feel when they took away the FEB percentage from the?
It was it was sad. It was sad. It didn't crush me probably like it could some people, because I understand this is a process we're in. There is no gain that our people have received that's not under siege. You're always under siege. Under siege means under attack in some manner. So we existed at this site on Crenshaw and Slauson for over 21 years doing programming for our people. We were under attack our opening day. There were people from the city who said, we don't think that they should be able to open it. That was day one. So understand that we got 21 years out of that because we fought back. I mean, they've tried a whole bunch of different things. We'd like to put an administrator over you guys there and had to explain to them that, in particular, I have a degree from USC with public administration, which gives me the ability to handle administration of resources, finances, and personnel. So we don't need outside intervention to run our program. And they went away. They just disappeared. Doesn't mean they disappeared and they forgot about it. They recalculated how we're going to come at them and dismantle them. If you looked at that sabotage film and each of the sabotage films, you see how every prominent institution, and the domain is one way. So, and let me be clear, I'm going to tie what you're saying with eminent domain back to what this young man said. When I first went in and did the lawsuit, what they did was, the first trial, they went against me. The jury went against me. No black people were on that jury out of 12. But 3 people, 2 Latinas and 1 white woman came out of the jury room, because you have to have at least a 9-3 split in civil trial. And they came out and said, the jury foreman did everything he could to sway people against Mr. Jumaane's position. The judge said that was jury misconduct. They threw out that decision and gave us another trial. See, the system expects you to run out of gas. They expect you to run out of gas. Say, like most people, it's worth fighting, but I ain't going through it. But then it ain't worth it. If your attitude is, it ain't worth it, then it ain't worth it. See, I wasn't that brother. I'm like, let me know when you want to come back. They think you're going to run out of money. They count on it, because they're using your money against you. You know that, right? The city of LA has a barrage of attorneys. And all these attorneys that they have are being paid by the city. When they're being paid by the city, that's your tax dollars that are being used against you. So everything is stacked their way. When you go into court, you have a judge. You put your paperwork down, you have your attorney put your paperwork down in front of the judge and say, I want to sue this entity because of this. And then the judge, they give the judge a certain amount of power. The judge can look at it and say, nothing to see here. Throw you in the trash can. Or the judge can say, in that case where we went to court, he says, I think, because he had a drop of black blood in him. Filipino dude who had a drop of black blood, he didn't forget who he was. So he said, let a jury look at this. So there's a lot of things that we have to worry about. Judges that are placed, which means vote. Vote to put judges in. Then juries, they send juries. When you're picking a jury, they send who they want up to your jury, and you have to, up to your courtroom, you have to decide who you want to pick and who you don't. But they've already done their studies on the jury. So they're sending up people who will not be favorable to your cause. So we have to use a different level of ingenuity to get past every one of these steps. Since you mentioned eminent domain, when the second trial came back and they said I won, and they said it was $1 million case. The money didn't mean that. It wasn't that. I don't do things just for money. It's about liberation of our people. Dr. Maulana Karenga, who you all have heard of, no doubt, talks about fighting for critical social space. Critical social space is these victories that we'll get along the way and will allow us to build a school like Marcus Garvey. And now we can, the hundreds and thousands of brothers and sisters who come through here, that's significant. But when the jury came back in my favor, the second go round, now they have what they call, it's a meeting that they have where they want to bring closure to this. Well, it's closure to it already. The jury already said what they said. But they want to see if there's anything they can bargain. Okay, I said, okay, I'll take half of it. I'll take half of the bill, and the other half, just take the deed to this building here so it could be in our hands forever. I didn't even tell my attorney that, who went in there. I said, I kept that until they were reaching their final. Well, we can't seem to reach an agreement. Oh, okay, this is an agreement we can help.
Can you be specific on what you said? You were gonna, they were gonna give you $1 million, but you were gonna take half. And what was
correct.
the other? If you have $500, what was you gonna?
I apologize. Let me be clear. We went through 2 trials. First trial, jury went against us. Judge filed jury misconduct, put us back in the seat for another trial. We went through another trial. At the end of that trial, the jury gave a verdict in my favor for $1 million, given what we were able to demonstrate happened during the course of my employment. So there's a final meeting where you sit back and you say, how can we get this off the table? That $1 million was what was already awarded. So I said, let's make this easy on you. I'll take half that, and let's take the deed to the building.
The FEB Center.
The FEB, where the FEB Center was. And that's so, the way I packaged it, they couldn't get out of it. So the only way they had to get out of it was to say, let's throw away the whole verdict. So we're in a system that stacks itself, that stacks everything in its favor, and you have to have enough staying power to not play yourself out, but continue to fight with everything that you've got. And when this young man said eminent domain, when I wrote it up, I didn't even tell my attorney. When I sat in with my attorney, we were in a final settlement conference, is what they call it. And so, you know, they go back and talk to the city, what would you want to do to get this off the table? And they ask us, what would you want to do? So we were vastly apart. But I had already written up, typed it out on a computer. And I just sat there until they determined that nothing else could be done. And I threw that on the guy who was the arbitrator. And what I said was, I would take half that amount. The city was in a deficit, so why would you not take that? And keep a $500,000 and take the building that we were in as a city building. And they were like, they said, we never heard of anything like this. So the only way that they could undo the whole deal, and I wrote in there, and that the transference of the building not be subject to eminent domain, land grabs, or any other transferences. So they had it. See, generally Charlie, y'all know who Charlie is, don't you?
No.
Mr. Chop.
Mr. Charlie. Mr. Pratt, do you want to explain to them who Mr. Charlie is, or should I? Okay, Mr. Charlie, when somebody say Mr. Charlie. Now, Mr. Charlie is You all heard of slavery?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Charlie is a figurative individual who was the plantation owner who kept black folk under enslavement and subjugation. We understand who that is. Is that all white folks? No, it's not. You all ever heard of John Brown?
No.
John Brown was a white man back in the day who believed that black people should be free. He so believed it that he took up arms. Y'all know what I mean by take up arms, right? Yeah. Arms is weapons, like shotguns, rifles, and get this. He believed it so much that he lost his life in what you call Harper's Ferry, where he wanted to raid an armory, which holds the national arms weaponry that they give to military. He wanted to arm all slaves, break in there, arm all them, and say, we're going to end slavery like this. So that was a white man who gave his life back in the day. He believed like that. So yes, sir.
Sorry.
Oh, you're stretching? Did you have a question?
Another question I have is, how did you feel knowing that brother Marquise Dawson took away your property?
That's a very good question. Did you hear what the brother said, everybody?
Yes.
Okay. How do I feel? And thank you for bringing these questions about the film that you saw. How did I feel about Marquise Dawson doing what he did? Black progress is threatening. Excuse me. It's threatening to the white power structure. All of those institutions you saw in that film, they undermined all of them. Oftentimes, now you have to use a black face as your agent to do it. So for him to allow himself to do the bidding of the philosophy and system of global white supremacy is a problem. And he didn't surprise me because I've never seen him do anything in this community that revolutionarily assisted with raising the financial, social, or political status of our people. You know, so we have to look for that. You all, somebody in here, or many of you all be involved in organizations when you get older. So when you have these organizations, you got to develop a sixth sense for who is with it and who's not with it. You know, like this, you've heard somebody say, all skin folk ain't kin folk. You ever heard that?
Yes.
What that means is, because they black, don't mean they got your interest in mind. That don't mean they're your family. My thing is, you may be black in color, but that doesn't mean you're black in content. Your heart ain't necessarily black. If you're getting paid underneath the table, like some of these people are, these politicians getting paid by developers and folk who want to scoop up as much of this community as they possibly can. You know, that's where their allegiance is. So I felt disappointed, and you know, every blow against liberation of our people hurts me, no matter where I see it. You know, so my tears are inside, not necessarily outside. But that's what we do. Question? Any other? Did I answer your question, bro? I was very disappointed is how I felt about that, bro. Very disappointed.
Can I interject? Because I think some of you are not young to a point you understand that a person is a city council man or woman that's over a particular area. They control the land usage. If they're going to sell some property, it has to go through that person. And so I remember a couple years ago, one of my students said that he wanted to be a council person at one time. You know, and I said, if you do, so some of you may find yourself being elected in city council, whatever have you. Just remember that you got to look out for black people. Don't get in there and say, well, I'm just here for all people and ignore black people. That's what he's talking about. And what he's talking about is when the FEB Center was closed, they used a black man to do it. And so we don't need to be put in positions to do the same things that racists do. And that's kind of what I'm saying. Sort of like the Baldwin, the Crenshaw Mall. A lot of people don't know the Crenshaw Mall. Black people had the money to buy it. $40 million is what was necessary to initially buy it, and it was sold to a guy in Beverly Hills, a white guy in Beverly Hills. But the city council, a black person, had the opportunity to say, well, wait a minute, these black people have the money, I'll sell it to them. So they're in that's a powerful position is what I'm saying. And so we have to remember that those positions, city council, when we vote for those positions, you guys are gonna be voting. I looked at one of my students the other day, passed me, I taught him in 4th grade, she passed me in a car. So it's not gonna be a long time before you guys are voting, that you're out there. And so remember, if you get in that position, when you guys get in political positions, make sure that you remember. And remember Marcus Garvey, come back here, you know?
That's right.
Sister?
Like brother said, to tie what both of you are saying, Mr. Umoja and you, guess who that council person was who didn't support the black group wanting to purchase the mall?
Somebody black.
Say it loud.
Marcus Dawson.
That's who it was.
Yeah.
So, when we understand in this particular area, too many things have gone down that are questionable. See, when Ralph leads up here, don't act like I don't know how to handle this and I'm just miffed. No, have a revolutionary program come over there and take that over for our community so people don't have to drive outside of their area for the organic food and the services. Revolutionary. When the EDD building, Employment Development Department building on 54th Street in Crenshaw, vacated. In the district that this council person himself says is the highest level of unemployment in the city, never fought to get it reopened. You know, serve 5,000 people per month. When that mall was getting ready to get built, change ownership. That particular council person sitting on the Plum Committee, Planning and Land Use Management Committee, has a significant voice, would be supportive to the community owning that. Never came up. Never came up. Time and time again. When we as an organization have been in business, I'm gonna tell you why we came under the scope at the FEB Center, and why we fell out of favor. We speak out on gentrification there. We have meetings, community meetings, people come in and talk about what bothers them. If some of those issues in gentrification point to the council person, we still talk about these issues. We don't back up off of that. So you gotta decide, and just like Mr. Umoja said, when you get in these positions, some people are uncomfortable when you voice and say, do for black people. Do for everybody, okay? But what these people do, they do for everybody else and forget black people. They say, they're gonna vote for me because I'm black. In color, not content. So if you're dumb enough to vote for a fool just because he's black in color, and not his content, well, you can't see the audacity. There's a guy named Charles Barron in New York City who says, there's no development. He's a black man who used to be a Panther, Black Panther. He's now a council person, essentially. He says there's no development that will take place in my district that prices out the median income of the residents in that district. That's the way you look out for your people. So we're not talking about something that hasn't been done. We've got playbooks on how you can do this. We got people actually doing the things we're asking you to do. You actually have to go out of your way to ignore black people.
And can you tap on this? Didn't that happen in Atlanta with the airport?
Yeah,
Can you express what happened with that?
In the 70s in Atlanta, they were going to build a new airport. So white folk, all the contractors and construction people, they're like, great, millions of dollars were going to go into this project. The mayor at that time, Maynard Jackson, said, okay, good, let's make it happen. He had enough social consciousness to say that this project will not be done unless a certain amount go to black people, a certain amount go to women. You gotta break off a piece of this, all this money coming in. This is a disadvantaged, these are disadvantaged sectors. They've gotta get a piece of this. So the white contractor's like, oh no, that's ridiculous. Oh no, we're not gonna go for that at all. And he said, good, scrap the whole project. And they said, you know what you said sounds great. They changed their mind on that. See, you gotta have somebody who is, one of the first things I told you when we started, leadership has got to be audacious. you've got to have the audacity to look someone in the eye and demand the truth, demand your position. Don't always come back. When Garcetti got in as mayor, his last term, a group of pastors, someone who was in the meeting with them told me, a group of pastors wanted to get with Garcetti. We supported you with being the mayor. So now Garcetti said, okay, what do you want? And the group of pastors, they say, went over to the side, they powwowed, they did their little meeting off to the side, turned back around to Garcetti and said, we want access. Garcetti looked at him like, what the? Like, understand, he was surprised at their lack of sophistication and asking for something as insignificant as access, which means nothing. In other words, we want the ability to knock on your door, shake hands with you and say, I know you. And I talk for a minute. You gotta ask for something substantive. And that's what, unfortunately, we gotta train people to do on your level. Okay?
All right, we're winding down. If we got any last minute questions other than that, do we have anybody? We got Carter's got, he wants to have the last question. Here's someone's got.
What's your favorite thing about the FEB Center?
Your favorite thing about the FEB Center.
Good question. My favorite thing about the FEB Center, out of all the programs that we had come through there on a regular basis, Mr. Mojo is part of the Black Health Collective talking about our health issues. We had CMOTAP, you heard him mention that earlier. CMOTAP is an organization that talks about, it literally stands for the Committee to Eliminate Media Offensive to African People and their issues that they do. Religious groups come in, or spiritual groups come in, agricultural groups come in. My favorite thing about it and our purpose was to provide opportunity to people. Such that if you came in, you said, Carter?
Yes.
If you came in, Carter, with a plan, and you said, I'd like to talk to you, Mr. Jumaane, I'd sit down with you. If we got a time slot for you, we're gonna let you run your program. The favorite thing about me, to me, is sometimes I would be at the fire station, and we ran the Harambe Farmers Market for over 11 years there. Sometimes I would be at a fire station where we literally were running all night, after midnight for a call. So I'll drag it in the morning, but I know I gotta open up at 8:30 for the 10 o'clock arrivals. So when I would show up, no matter how tired I was, to be in a place where people with beautiful faces like you all do, expressing your positivity as Black people, having the audacity to show up and say, I can create a new world, that energized me. So in other words, the thing that I like the most about it is being around positive, productive, African-centered people who are willing to use their ingenuity to create a better way and reality for us. Not hating on nobody else, but just understanding that we have a full range of human emotions and expressions from a cultural standpoint that we can bring to fruition. And I grew so much as a result of that infection with those brothers and sisters. So, thank you all.
All right, thank you, brother.
I appreciate it. Anytime any of you brothers and sisters want to reach out, you give it Mr. Mojo, you give it Sister Saunders, and they will put you in touch with me for whatever the reason. If you have an interest in the fire department, if you have an interest in community activism, if you have an interest in just talking to a brother, just asking a question, an opinion on something. You want somebody outside of your parents to give you their particular insight, I'll be happy to do that. Thank you all. Thank you all for having me come. I applaud you.